Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Did Shakespeare. I'm Cassidy Cash, that's Shakespeare Girl. William Shakespeare is known the world over for his role in theater. He crafted masterpieces that have been performed from sea to sea and in culture after culture, different countries, different people all around the world. Successfully and masterfully, people love his work, but with such a strong presence in theater, it led me to ask, did Shakespeare act? Despite the popularity of going to the theater and seeing a play, actors themselves suffered from a bad reputation. For Elizabethan society, they were seen as unruly and a threat to proper order. And the acting profession was only open to men and boys. Women were not allowed to perform on stage, so all of the female roles in any of Shakespeare's plays would have been performed by young boys. Their skin was smoother, their voices were higher, and in costume, they passed more easily as women on stage. But even with all of this experience and background in acting or working with actors, did Shakespeare himself act on stage? It turns out, yes, he did. We know he appeared in Ben Jonson's play Sejanus, but that appearance is considered the last performance that Shakespeare ever did as an actor. For that, legend has it he appeared in his own play Hamlet as the ghost, and most historians think that William Shakespeare performed as the chorus or the prologue in several of his plays. In fact, in some of Shakespeare's plays, there are some variations in different copies of the play that we have, and some historians have suggested that one reason for the variations is because Shakespeare was performing the play before royalty, and at the moment of performance, ad-libbed the speech to please the royal monarch, because if he had read it as it had been originally written, he would risk offending them. We know that in 1598, Shakespeare performed in Ben Jonson's play Every Man in His Humor, because a copy of the play clearly lists William Shakespeare as one of the principal performers for that London play. It would be 5 years later that he gave what's considered his last performance in Ben Jonson's play Sejanus. So while the answer is yes, William Shakespeare was an actor, like so much of William Shakespeare's life, there's not a lot in the way of documented records to show exactly which performances he gave, what parts he played, or where he was an actor. What we can glean about Shakespeare's acting reputation and acting experience or history is largely from biographical information we have about people who wrote about William Shakespeare after he died. For example, in 1640, a man named John Aubrey tried to compile what constitutes one of the first biographies of William Shakespeare, and in that, he said that William Shakespeare was that famous writer and actor, Mr. William Shakespeare. He also quoted a man named William Beeson, referring to William Shakespeare as a man who, quote, did act exceedingly well. These accounts, while tantalizing about William Shakespeare as an actor, do have a few flaws in terms of the historical timeline. For example, William Beeson wasn't born until 1606, which is a full 3 years after William Shakespeare is thought to have left acting professionally. So William Beeson himself could never have seen William Shakespeare perform on stage. But that doesn't mean that Beeson's opinion is necessarily wrong. He could have gotten that opinion from his father, Christopher Beeson, who was listed as one of Shakespeare's fellow actors on stage in the 1590s. So while Beeson's opinion of Shakespeare being a good actor is not from personally seeing William Shakespeare on stage, it still speaks to Shakespeare's success as an actor to note that that opinion that William Shakespeare was a good actor stretched across generations. Adding to Shakespeare's reputation as a good actor is also the culture of Elizabethan theater and what the audience thought about actors themselves. The audience in Elizabethan theaters were very, very critical. They would often yell advice or criticisms, even throw food or hiss at actors on stage who were thought not to be realistic or not doing a good job. So if you weren't good at being an actor, you very quickly got replaced. The workload for an actor as well was particularly horrendous, and you had to be good at improv. Some playing companies could perform up to 6 different productions a week, with a single actor being expected to perform over 4,000 lines of dialogue. When they were giving performances in front of the monarchs, there was someone called the Master of the Revels that had to approve your script. So while the script was written and they did practice this version of the production if they sent the script to the Master of the Revels, and the Master of Revels could pick sections of the play and remove them because he felt they were too obscene to be performed in front of a monarch. That meant when an actor showed up to give a performance, there could be new actors, different lines, and entire sections of play completely removed at the last minute before they're going on stage. And when you did go on stage, you were performing in some cases before people who could not only criticize your work, but in the case of the monarchs, they could imprison you if they didn't like what they saw you perform on stage, and you had to get paid for what you did. If you didn't get paid for this performance, that money was going to cover your basic needs. So for an actor, failure was not an option. So the fact that we can place Shakespeare as an actor on stage over the course of many years, combined with the fact that people decades after he died still remember him as a good actor, speaks to the fact that William Shakespeare was not only a good actor, but he was likely rather exceptional. Lack of record of William Shakespeare performing on stage has led some historians to view that as a humble character trait on William Shakespeare's part, being someone who didn't necessarily want to call attention to himself as an actor. Despite having not very many records about William Shakespeare being on stage, it would be his words in Hamlet that served as the rule of thumb for being a good actor in the theater. Let your own discretion be your tutor, which is what Hamlet warns the players. And he says, suit the action to the word to the action. With this special observance, you o'erstep not the modesty of nature. For anything so overdone is from the purpose of playing. And as John Paul Rollert puts it in his article for The Atlantic, it seems appropriate that a man who left almost no trace of himself should have furnished the selves of so many others in so many imagined worlds. Perhaps the actor in him understood that his art was contingent on his own disappearance. For Shakespeare, the man made no effort to proclaim to the world that he was there, only that his characters were. That's it for this week here at Did Shakespeare. I'm Casty Cash, that Shakespeare girl, and until next time, I hope your week is a Shakespeare-filled week. Tickets are now on sale for the exclusive Life of Shakespeare tour I'm running with British History Tours in 2019, and we would love for you to go with us. There is no better place to explore this minutiae of evidence of William Shakespeare's life than in the one place they have the most of it, and that is Stratford-upon-Avon, England. We'll be traveling there September 16th through 20th in 2019, and you can get your tickets. We would love for you to join us. We will be walking through the entire life of William Shakespeare. You'll see where he was born, and you'll get to visit his grave at Holy Trinity Church, and a whole lot of exclusive behind-the-scene looks in between. So to find out more about that and to reserve your spot to go with us, go to castycash.com/travel Shakespeare.